Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg, and I'm back. And I don't even have a tan. Haha. We'll get to all that. But I am glad to be back in my own home, in my own chair, with my own stuff. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, we're gonna be playing some Diablo 3 today, for reasons that I'll talk about in a little bit later. But, yeah, I am back, so I have a lot of catching up to do. I guess that was the only negative of going on vacation. Now the real work begins. Just as far as my channel goes, this was my first priority because it's a Sunday. But then the Mangg cast will be my next priority. And that's the E3 special. I don't know if I'll ever take another vacation during E3 week. That's just because like E3 is like my Super Bowl. You know, why would I do that to myself? Why would I go away from the world when the world is the most exciting? That's just no good. That was no good. So I won't do that again. But I watched the second half, maybe less, of the Microsoft conference, because I remembered like halfway through or so that Spike actually airs the Microsoft conference. They have a special deal, so they air it on television, which just blew my mind, because why would I ever watch it on TV normally? So I managed to catch a little bit of that, but I still have to watch like the first half of that, the Bethesda conference, the EA conference, the Ubisoft conference, the Nintendo video bullshit, and I'm probably missing something. Did Konami, do they still do something? Maybe. I don't know. Probably some other stuff. In general, E3 news and stuff. So I have to do all that before like tomorrow night when I record the main cast. I need to be educated. But I did kind of read. I didn't stay off the internet for that whole time, so I heard all the big announcements and things like that. I don't have enough spirit. And obviously, I'm not going to go into that right now. That's for the main cast. But there was nothing like that shook the internet, really, which was kind of sad. Not enough spirit. But it's one of those years, you know. It's not like you're going to get new hardware or anything like that, and that's usually the big stuff. So, but I'll save that all for the main cast. So I have to get all that catching up to do. Then we have more Witcher 3 for me to play. We have Duelist, of course. Another patch came out last Tuesday, but it wasn't really big at all. I'm really thinking this week might be the client and the Gauntlet, which would be very exciting. Arkham Knight comes out this week, I believe. I won't be getting it, partly because I didn't really care for Arkham City, and also partly because after a vacation like that, I really don't have any funds left over, so. But maybe at some point, who's to say. And that's pretty much it. It's going to be the main cast, Duelist, and The Witcher 3 for the week, I would say. And that's enough. That's enough, really. I'm probably forgetting something. Oh, Axiom Verge, I forgot. I'm still doing that. Yeah, and then Ziggy also has a game request for donating to the Patreon that he needs to. He still hasn't given me the game, so see if I can get in on that. And then other catching up that I have to do, I have to watch like the Game of Thrones season finale. I have like 30,000 YouTube videos to watch because I make it a point to watch all of my YouTube subscriptions pretty much, which is why I don't subscribe to too many things, because it's a burden. But the Dice Tower did like all of their Origins shit. Like they preview like every game that's at Origins, which is like 100 of them. And they do like a little preview for every single one. It's like, all right, I gotta watch all of these. So that'll take me a while. Yeah. But it was good. I mean, I don't regret having to catch up on shit. That's just whatever. That's part of it. Yeah.
Not enough spirit.
Okay, so let's see here. Well, I went to Estes Park. Well, right like next to Estes Park, which is a town nestled in the Rocky Mountains. So, the Rocky Mountains are pretty big stuff. And we went to it was in Colorado. I don't know how far the Rocky Mountains extend. I'm not a geographer or any bullshit like that. But we were in Colorado, right near Estes Park. And so it's about a 16-hour drive or so to get there from my home in Wisconsin. And we could have maybe done it in one day, just driving straight there. But since we had a bunch of kids and, along for the whole trip, it was just like, whatever. We'll get some hotel rooms. So this was all like planned out months ahead of time.
I don't have enough spirit.
And so we stopped at a hotel near Des Moines in Iowa. Actually, both of our hotel stays were in Iowa. And let's see. We went to a Target in Iowa. Like right near the hotel where we were staying. We went to a Target. And I think that place, like 90% of its employees were young teenage females. It was like surreal. Like I was just walking around and it's just like, I don't know if I saw a guy. It was just teenage girls everywhere. It was like Flossed in Paradise, man. It was crazy. So Iowa is a good state. And we went to dinner, and then we went to see Jurassic World opening night. And for me, I'm very cautious when it comes to going to see movies opening night. Like, I want to see movies opening night, but I want to make sure I see it. I want to make sure I get good seats. So I was like, we got to get there 40 minutes early, at the least. It's opening night for Jurassic World. Are you kidding? So I convinced everyone in my family that we have to be there 40 minutes early. And so we ended up getting there around 40 minutes early, and there was nobody there. And that was interesting. I kind of felt like an asshole, but it's like, no, I'm gonna be cautious about this thing. Screw you. That's why you be cautious, because you never know. And people started to file in, but it wasn't crazy. It was not a huge town, and it was not a big movie theater, so. Jurassic World was good. It was a good movie about dinosaurs. But it was not a Jurassic Park movie. I only consider it a Jurassic Park movie if Sam Neill's in it. That's it. I'm sorry. So I don't consider the second one a Jurassic Park movie either. Like, you could just call the second one The Lost World. You really could. Just, you have Jurassic Park 1, then you have The Lost World, and then you have Jurassic Park 2. And then this would be The Lost World 2. No, you could call it Jurassic World, I guess. That doesn't bother me. But it's not Jurassic Park. But I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that holds that viewpoint. I like Chris Pratt. I mean, I'll see pretty much anything he does nowadays, so that's nice. There were a lot of plot flaws in that movie, weren't there? There was some bullshit. The fact that phones never work just really pissed me off. Like, you have this top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art theme park with dinosaurs. Like, literally, you hold the monopoly on genetically cloned dinosaurs. And you don't even have your telecommunications set up so you can talk to somebody across the island. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know what's up with that. And, like, they let these little kids just go off in their own little hamster wheel, and, like, there's no way to stop them or recall it or anything. They can just go wherever the hell they want. That's a terrible idea. With no parental guidance, just because they have a VIP pass. I don't know, that was real bullshit. I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but really, it's a...
I don't have enough spirit.
It's a movie about dinosaurs. What am I really gonna spoil? Are you that childish? Come on. A T-Rex makes an appearance. If that's a spoiler, grow up. But a T-Rex makes an appearance towards the end. And, he does some battling. There are some dinosaur battles. And... I don't know, it just felt kind of strange. Like, the whole ending, for those that have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It just felt so weird. Like, I felt like the T-Rex and the Velociraptor were gonna, like, high-five at some point. It was just so ridiculous. And, there was just a lot of ridiculous parts of that. More than any other the Jurassic Park. It was just ridiculous. Although, I don't know if any moment topped the one in the second one where she does, like, her gymnastics and she kills a Velociraptor. But, you know, I don't think anything will ever top that anyways. But yeah, it didn't have Sam Neill, and from what I remember, they didn't even ask him to be in the movie at all, not even a cameo. And so, I was gonna boycott it. I was gonna boycott the movie, but then they brought in Chris Pratt as kind of like, we're sorry. We're assholes. We're real dicks. We don't know what we're doing. We're fuck nuts. But hey, here's Star-Lord. It's like, alright, fine. You got this one, but if you screw this up next time, there's no forgiving. Not even Star-Lord will help you. Yeah, he probably will. But anyways, I enjoyed it. It was fun to watch. You know, it's one of those just kind of popcorn movies. Where I didn't really think about any of that bullshit during the movie, except the T-Rex and Velociraptor high-fiving. That got me. Like, it was just like, okay. But other than that, it was enjoyable. Yeah. And then...
The Rift Garden.
So that was pretty much the hotel stay that night. And then... I mean, the drive there, 16 hours is just a long-ass time to do anything. And driving is not great. I mean, if you got, like, an RV or something where you just got, like... Where it's, like, your home or something, then it's not a big deal. But if you're just in a truck, and you just have, like, your tablet and shit, It's not the life I want to live. What did I really do? I read a good chunk of a book. I started reading the Whirlwind in the Thorn Tree, which I think the title is pretty much inspired by the Johnny Cash song "A Man Going Round," I believe. I mean, there are references to it in the book, so I'm pretty sure. But it's kind of like Tolkien meets a bit of Lovecraft meets kind of Stephen King meets Cowboys versus Aliens, kind of like it's a mix of a bunch of different stuff. And the first like fifth of the book, I was kind of like, but it's starting to pick up, so it's not bad. So I read that a bit. I brought along my 3DS. I was gonna play some Monster Hunter, but I found out that my Circle Pad Pro, the batteries were apparently dead, and so I was like, oh, screw it. I'm not gonna play Monster Hunter without that. So that was a no-go. But really, the big thing that
I don't have enough spirit.
took up probably the biggest chunk of time, other than just staring out the window, was I had Star Realms on my iPad. And I don't want to really go into the board game discussion just yet, but Star Realms did take up a large chunk of time. Yes. But other than that, I stared out the window a lot, which is terrible. What a waste of time. That's like the least productive thing you can ever do. But I digress. So we finally arrive in Colorado, in Estes Park, in the mountains. And the elevation of my home here in Wisconsin is about 900 feet. The elevation of our cabin slash house in Estes was about 7,600 feet or so. So it was a pretty substantial difference. And really, you don't really notice it if you're just sitting there, because you'd have to be a lot higher for you to just notice it sitting there. But if you do any physical activity, you're probably gonna notice that it's a bit harder to breathe, which is weird. Like, you feel like you're dying, which is how I normally feel when I do physical activity, but I felt justified when doing it at high elevation. And our cabin slash home there, well, we basically rented a home. There were 13 of us, so we could have done multiple smaller cabins, but we decided to just go for one big home and see how it went. And this place was nicer than a cabin, but I wouldn't say it's really a home. It was just designed awkwardly. Like, there was like one huge family room, which had like a huge long table, a large open area, a couple couches, the big screen TV, a pool table. Like, it was a big old room. And then everything else was basically a hallway. Like, it was a very phallic looking building overall. There was one hallway that stretched across the entire building, and then like smaller rooms kind of branched off of it, like tomb rooms. And I got my own room, which is pretty nice. But it was well furnished. It was a nice looking place. Everything was very clean and well kept and all that, so can't really complain. But it's not a place you would really want to live, I don't think.
This fight is over.
For more than a week or two. And so yeah, we settled in for the week, and they had a pool table, but it was really kind of, well, it was cheap is what it was, because it was like a convertible pool table. It was a pool table, or a billiards table, my apologies. But you can convert it to like an air hockey table and a ping pong table and probably some other kind of table. It was versatile, which means none of the things are done as well as they could, basically. But I'm a fan of billiards, but I don't own a table, so really the only time you ever get to play is if a friend owns one or you play at a bar. And of course I've gone to bars that had pool tables, but I've played a couple of times, which is why I like it. But whenever my friends offer, you want to play, it's like, I don't really want to embarrass myself, you know. Because I know they've played more than I have, but not much more. But it's like, because the first time you play pool, if you're like me, you can't shoot for shit. Like, you just, like, smack the cue, the pool stick across, like, the cue ball, and it just doesn't go anywhere, and you feel like a dick. Like, how incompetent are you? So it's just like, but having a pool table there of basically my own the entire week was pretty cool. I practiced quite a bit. I'm a lot better than I was a week ago. And at some point I might look into getting my own table because it's pretty damn fun. What else?
I am returning to town.
Well, my room had like a small little TV/DVD combo where the DVD slot is just like slapped onto the side of it, and it was probably from like 2006 or something, 2005, and it didn't have an HDMI port. And I had brought my PS4 with me because I figured I could practice up on some Bloodborne for the YOLO series. But I didn't have an HDMI port, so I'm like, ugh. And I could hook it up to like the big screen out in the family room and let my little nephews and nieces watch me play Bloodborne, but that might be in bad form. So I was like, this really bums me out. And I had also brought some Blu-ray movies, like the few Blu-ray movies that I own. Dread, Dog Soldiers, and Rambo 4. But I was like, well, I can't watch those out there either. But luckily, my parents had a more modern TV that they weren't using, so I grabbed that and I hooked it up.
See you soon. Do come back again.
And I did play a little Bloodborne. I did get some practice in. And then I was like, oh, what else do I have on here? And then I remembered that I had Diablo 3 downloaded. I didn't buy the disc, I just downloaded the digital version. I was like, oh, Diablo 3. I wonder how that game is nowadays. And so I spent most of the week playing this. I got kind of engrossed into it, as you tend to do with Diablo games. And yeah, so that was a good portion of my week, was playing Diablo 3. So I didn't get too much practice into Bloodborne, but I don't think any of you are shocked by that. And so I guess I should talk about Colorado. The mountains, the actual mountain, the reason we went there. And really, the reason we went there was because it was my dad's kind of dream vacation. He's very much kind of the explorer type. And he's been there. He's been to the Rocky Mountains a couple times before, so he kind of knew what hikes to go on and things like that. And so he dragged the whole family with him on this vacation. Well, he didn't really. I mean, it was optional, but I'm not going to pass down a vacation to Colorado, I guess. I'm not going to pass down a vacation. And, but I'm not really a hiker, and I'm not really, I guess, the hiking doesn't really bother me. But I'm not the type of guy that needs to experience new things, I guess. They went around. They actually drove around multiple times in their vehicles, just looking for moose. I'm serious. You can go ahead and laugh, but they did it. They looked for moose and elk. And I'm like, I'll find it real quick. And I just pulled up my phone and I Googled moose. And I'm like, boom, look at all these pictures of moose. And you can even get video. Live video. If you put it up to your face, it's like you're there. That's what I kind of like. I mean, I don't really have an urge to see or experience many things in life. I'm good. I got my video games. I got my board games. I'm good. So it wasn't really a trip for me, but I figured I'd go with because it's a vacation. I'll bring some board games. I'll probably enjoy myself. Just the fact that I can relax and not record and whatever for a week. And, you know, go out to eat, things like that. There was enjoyment to be had. So I went on, like, the very first hike, like the first real day that we were there. And we went, basically, it was a hike for old people, more or less.
My will falters.
It was a hike around a lake, and the path was fully paved, and you could take, like, a stroller on it. Like, it was very child and old person friendly. And it was like, alright, this is fine, but I could probably just do this in Wisconsin if I wanted to. I mean, yeah, there wouldn't be the mountains there, but okay. And then we went on a second hike, which was like, the place was busy as hell. Like, it's really a popular tourist destination. I was surprised how many people were there. And so we couldn't get a parking spot anywhere, because there's like a few, you have to go to like a designated parking spot in the mountains, otherwise you park at the bottom and you just walk up or something like that. Takes the whole day. So you want to get a good parking spot near where there's like the good popular hikes, trails, and so on. We couldn't get a good parking spot, so we were going to take like a shuttle. Because you can park in one of the huge parking lots near lower down, and then you can get a shuttle, like a bus that goes up and takes a whole bunch of people. So we're going to do that, but the line for that was just ridiculously long, and we're like, oh god. This was on last Sunday, so we were like, maybe, you know, during the week it'll be a lot less busy. It really wasn't less busy, but we thought that. And so they didn't want to just go back to the cabin or whatever and sit there, so we went on this kind of off the book trail. It wasn't a recommended one. And I can see why, because it was kind of shit. It was like, what, 800 feet elevation or something like that? Which means that you're basically, you're hiking up a mountain, basically. I mean, obviously a mountain is a lot taller than that, but I don't want any elevation. I want to start at 0 and end at 0. This was a lot of uphill. Not only that, it wasn't like paved or anything like the first one. This was just rocks. So like, I don't even know the angle that we were walking uphill on just scattered loose rocks. Which uphill is not terrible. It's grueling, especially at high elevation for an untrained fat person. It's not entertaining. But on the way down, it's very easy to just slip on a loose rock and snap your ankle like a twig. So that was fun. And we went up to like 9,400 feet, I think, was where we stopped. and then we went back down. And then I was like, I'm good for a couple days. They went on hikes every single day of the week. Like every single day we were there except for the first day and the day we left. Because we left at like 9 a.m. Every other day they went on hikes, starting at like 7 in the morning, and then they did an afternoon hike as well, and there was a lot of hiking. I went on one more after that shit one. I was like, I'm pretty much done with the hike thing. So the only other hike I went on was they're like, we're going to go to the top of the mountain. We're going to go to like the highest point that you can really drive up to. And it's just going to be, we're going to go up there and it's going to be like a short little hike up in the tundra. In the alpine tundra. I'm like, alright, fine, I gotta do one more, I guess. So we drove up the mountain, which took a while, as you can imagine. And we finally get up there, and it's tundra. There's no trees up there. There's a lot of snow, which is pretty crazy in June. You know, unless you live in Australia or something. I don't. So it was pretty crazy to throw a snowball in June. And it was a short-ish hike to go all the way to the top point over there. And we were at like 12,000 feet or something like that. It was fairly high up. And the final point of that hike was to climb up on these rocks. There's like this little scattering of rocks that you could climb up on, and they encourage people to climb up on these rocks, even though you could easily fall to your death. Well, maybe not to your death, but if you landed on your neck, you're done. But probably you'll just get a broken leg. Anyways, I have a fear of heights. I'm ultraphobic, as many are. I don't like heights. I didn't have a single problem with heights the entire vacation. Like climbing up a mountain where there's like no railing next to you, there's like a sheer drop where if the car just veers off a little bit, you're done. I had no problem with that. I had no problem climbing up on these rocks. And I even took out, I had a camera and did like a 360-degree panoramic view while I'm standing on this rock, which was a little unnerving, but I was like, alright, sure. I did all that. So I was kind of impressed with myself. Maybe it's because I'm giving less of a shit about dying. Which probably isn't good. So yeah. And then, climbing down from that rock, the scattering of rocks, I was like, oh, this is no problem. Like, I'll just hop down here, hop down here, hop down here. I took one little step. It was a bit too much of a hop, so I was going to do a step. But I went a little bit too far. It was like a little bit too far down. And I put one leg down as far as I could. And basically my shorts ripped. Like right down the middle. Like it's the worst rip that you could ever, like, it looked like you took a scissor. Like it was an angry ex-wife that just hated these shorts, is what I'm saying. It was bad. And I had to walk all the way down back to the car with these completely ripped shorts. And nothing to cover them. It was awkward. Because we were not alone there. As I said, there's a lot of people in the Rocky Mountains. So it was not, pleasant. It was not pleasant. But, what else? We went to Boulder one day. One of the days it was gonna apparently like rain in Estes who were like, oh, we'll go to Boulder today. And Boulder, Colorado is apparently I didn't know this, but what do I know? It's apparently known for weird people. Like, it's a very kind of artsy, green town. And everybody rides bikes and paints and sings. Apparently, like, my mom's like, oh yeah, they say that if aliens exist, they live in Boulder. I'm like, let's go! And, on the way there, we had to go kind of downhill through the mountains, through a different path. And I get car sick on occasion. I mean, it's due to a variety of different factors of what makes me car sick or something like that. But that day, I got more car sick than I have ever gotten car sick. Like, I was the closest to throwing up I almost have ever been. We had to actually stop the car because it was like, stop. I can't. It was terrible. But apparently, what I discovered, they apparently already knew, was peppermint apparently prevents being car sick. I don't know why it works or how it works, but after that, I had like just peppermint mints on hand at all times, and I didn't get sick anymore, ever, for the rest of the week. So, I don't know how that works or why it works, but it worked, and it was cool. But anyways, Boulder. Yeah, I could tell it was an odd place.
Do you come back again?
I described it later as like, Boulder is a place where if you're homeless, you can just grab an instrument and you'll be called an artist. Like, that's what I got out of it. We were going through like the main downtown section where like everybody congregates. And I'm fairly certain there were just homeless people there. They're just warbling and playing a ukulele. And, like, the restaurants there don't... Like, you have to buy something if you want to use the bathroom because of the homeless people. So, we saw a guy, like, putting leaves on a rock. It was it was like an art piece. Like, the rock itself, I don't know if it was an art... Well, of course it was an art piece. What am I saying? It was like an art piece with... it had water that kept on flowing down it and things like that. And this guy was just sitting there. He had, like, his little hat out, his panhandling hat or buskering hat or whatever it was. He had his hat there. And he was, like, sticking leaves to this rock. And it may have been in an artsy pattern. I don't know. And that was it. That was probably his day job. And we found another guy. He was just like banging on some pots and shit. And it's like, what are you doing? Yeah. So I don't know. There was a lot of artsy chicks there that I would like to put leaves on their rocks. I don't know what I'm saying. Plenty of chicks in Colorado, though. And there was... What else? There was this shop that we all went into. It was... I think it was called, like, In the Wind or something like that. And in the window of it, there was just, like, a bunch of kites and, like, wind chimes and things like that. It looked like some hipster kite shop. That's exactly what it looked like. It was a hipster kite shop. I'm like, okay. But my dad's like, no, you got to go in there. It's perfect. You really got to go in there. I'm like, ugh, fine. So we all went in there, and it was apparently just like a gift shop. Like, it had like everything. It had everything. So I don't know who's marketing this shit, but they did it terribly.
Hello there.
And so I bought 2 things in there.
Embrace your power.
One thing that I bought was a deck of 3D cat cards. So it's a deck of cards, like a regular standard deck of cards, but each card has a different picture of a cat on it, which would be enough, just that. But no, the cats are in 3D. So you can like shift the card a little bit and boom, the cat moves. And so it was like $8 or something, but it was so ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, I gotta have this. And then the other thing I bought, they had a bunch of card and board games there. And so it's interesting. Like a year ago, I would have had no idea. I don't even know if I would have looked at any of those games. It was like, whatever. But now, you know, I go through there and maybe there was like 1 or 2 that I hadn't heard of, but everything else is like, oh yeah, that's not ranked very well. My sister's like, oh, look at this game. Why don't we own this game? I'm like, it's not rated very well. I wouldn't get it. And so I was like, yeah, I looked through all of them, but I was like, I'm probably not gonna. Like, why would I need it? I have enough games. What do I'm not gonna buy retail. Who would do that? They had Pit though, which was very interesting. Like they had like Settlers of Catan and Quirkle and what else did they have? Anomia, Smartat. Like they had just, you know, it was like a Target selection. But then they had Pit, which maybe they have Pit at Target, but it just seems so strange because it's the exact version that I own, which is just like this little red box, and it has like a bull on it. It has like a brass bull on it, and then on it it just says "with bell," and I think it shows a picture of a bell. And it's like, who does this excite by just looking at this box? It's a terrible box. I was like, who's buying this? If you don't know about Pit, why would you ever pick this up? I'm glad that all of you know about Pit because it's fantastic. I was like, I don't know who's ever picking this up. So I wasn't going to get anything, but then I looked and I saw that they had Rivals for Catan. And Rivals for Catan is the, well, basically it's the revision of Catan the card game, which is a 2-player card game based on Settlers of Catan. They're thematically alike, but they don't really play anything alike. And this was before I saw that they had Settlers of Catan, because they had Settlers of Catan like behind the counter and a special shelf. Like there was like 8 of them, or no, there was like a dozen of them. It's just like, here, Settlers of Catan. You've heard of it. It's here. It's like, yeah, I don't know, like it's so special. I don't know. It needs to be its own shelf behind the counter. You can't touch it. You must ask for it. So I didn't see that right away. I just saw Rivals for Catan. I'm like, why would they have this and not sell it? That's ridiculous. And I originally was just like, oh, that's interesting, I guess. But then I was like, let me look it up. I'm curious. I gotta look up, you know, how is this rated? How much does it cost on Amazon? It's rated fairly well. I think it's in the 500s or so, which isn't bad. And then I checked on Amazon, and it was like $3 more retail compared to Amazon. It was like, how can I not go on a vacation, visit Boulder, Colorado, and not buy a card game? Like, I gotta do it. So yeah, I bought Rivals for Catan. And when I went to check out, the guy looked at me And he's like, you know this is a 2-player card game, right? And I'm like, I think I actually did laugh a little. Like, I think I let out a small laugh, which is it's such a dick thing for me to do. It's like, you think I don't know? You know who I am? No. But I thought it was funny that he had to mention that, because I can imagine somebody going in there and be like, oh, Catan, I've heard of this. $20, I'll buy it. And then they get home and they're like, what the fuck is this? What are these cards? It's only for 2 people. I can imagine somebody doing that. So, but no, I was educated. And I'll talk about how that was later. We're already 46 minutes. Man, I blather on and on. I knew this would be a long episode, though. I got a lot to say. And then, what else about Boulder? Not a whole lot. I mean, it had a sculpture garden. What more do I really need to say?
I am returning to town.
Then there was also a girl in very short shorts who's passing out coupons for... I think she might have said home blown. Or maybe I just wanted to hear that. I don't know. She may have said home blown glass. I'm like, glass? Who passes out coupons on the street for glass? Like, I mean, I need a new windshield for my car, but... And then I realized, yeah, she's not talking about windows. She's talking about the marijuanas. Because, yeah, that's a thing in Colorado. If you don't know, if you're not in the know about it, Colorado is infamous now for being the first to legalize recreational marijuana joints. And so I thought, and I think most of my friends thought, that when you go there, you would just see people puffing on joints all over the place. Down by the river, everywhere. Just joints. That's really not the case. I only saw one guy. I only saw one guy smoking it. Smoking the pot. And he was doing it very discreetly. Like, he didn't want anybody to really see him doing it, but he was like, he couldn't wait till he got home, so he's just like, I gotta do this. So he was trying to do it as subtly as he could, but I saw you. I saw you. But apparently it's frowned upon to smoke it in public. I don't know why. I mean, you went ahead and legalized it. Who cares? That's what you're known for, Colorado. Don't try and hide it. Don't you try and hide it. But yeah, I thought that was going to be all over the place, but no. So, the only thing I guess that's done in public there is edible. Where they bake it and cook it into foodstuffs. Because you can eat that in public and it's just like, oh, it's just a fat guy eating a brownie. No! That's a stoner getting his high on. So yeah, that was a small footnote because it really... I thought it would be a much bigger deal than it was, but no, I really never saw it. Or maybe I did and I didn't know it. Alright, so what else can I say? We had a hot tub there at the cabin, but I really only used it twice because usually there were a bunch of kids in it, and also generally it was kind of warm because it's June, so it's like, I'm already kind of warm. Do I want to get into a hot tub and sweat? But the couple times that I did go in there, it was pretty cool to just be, you know, looking out at the mountains and sitting in the hot tub drinking a root beer. We visited the Stanley Hotel, which is right there in Estes. And again, if you don't know, the Stanley Hotel is kind of the inspiration, or was part of the inspiration for The Shining. And so it's a historic landmark, I guess, for that and other reasons. And so we went in there. They charge like $10 to get in, but they're like, oh, but we'll give you a $5 coupon for the cafe. And I'm like, yeah, that's brilliant, because there's not a damn thing in there that's going to cost $5. We didn't even go into the cafe to check, because we all assumed I was right. And it was all right. I mean, it's an old hotel. How cool could it really be? But what was really off-putting was you have to go kind of to the grand entrance is really kind of the side entrance. Like, the parking lot is next to the side entrance, so you have to kind of go out of your way if you want to go in the grand entrance. And the grand entrance would have been pretty awesome, a pretty cool photo op, except for like the dozen Mexican guys watering the plants and shit. So that was just like, all right, that kind of nah. The interior, again, it was pretty cool. They tried to keep it. It definitely felt kind of like The Shining, I guess. We went during the day, and there were tour groups, and there was a lot of people there. But it was interesting enough. I'll remember it. They have a little gift shop there, which will, if you want to buy The Shining movie or book, you can buy it there at full retail price. What do you expect, I guess? So we were there for maybe 15 minutes, and then we left. So I don't know if it was really worth the money, but I can say I went there, I guess. Estes Park itself, we went into a couple times. And it's a tourist town, 100%. Like, I don't know if anybody really lives there. Well, probably a few people live there, but it's a tourist town. So most of Estes Park is really like, well, the main point of it is just like this one boulevard that you just walk up and down, and it's got like 13 different taffy shops and ice cream and fudge shops. And then like the rest are all either clothing stores or restaurants. And not really much to say. We ate at this Mexican place called Casa Grande. I wanted to go to the Grumpy Gringo, but that was a bit off the beaten path. So, probably not a good idea. And it was actually the 100th year anniversary of the Rocky Mountain National Park. The Rocky Mountain National Park was founded in 1915. And so the clothing stores there were selling a bunch of 100-year anniversary shirts. And so I didn't want one, because what do I care? But my mom insisted that I get one, so. Because they're only going to sell it 1 year. Maybe. You never know.
Good to see you.
So I got that. And a bunch of places there were selling elk burgers. Burgers made from the meat of an elk. I was like, I want to try that. Because I'll consume the meat of most any creature, unless it's the balls. I won't eat an animal's balls, because I wouldn't want an animal to eat my balls. And I think if we can't live with that kind of mutual respect, what kind of species are we? So I won't touch an animal's balls. Whether it's with my hands or with my tongue, it's not going to happen. So I'll eat I'll eat a steak of anything. But so I wanted an elk burger, But my brother-in-law's like, no, what you really want is an elk steak. And I think we only saw one restaurant that was selling that. But they wouldn't list the price on the menu outside. And I think they said, I don't know what the phrasing they use, but it's like suggested retail price or, something like that. If they don't put the price on the menu, it's freaking expensive. That's all I know. So I was like, oh man, I can't get an elk steak there. That's ridiculous. So, but my brother-in-law later on in the week, he went to the grocery store there, and I guess they had elk steak for $20 a pound. So we picked up some of that. I think we picked up like a pound. And he's like, here, you can cook it. I'm like, oh shit. How do I know how to cook an elk steak? But I tenderized it with a fork a bit. I threw some seasoning on, let it sit in the fridge for a while, and then I just kind of grilled it like a normal steak, and I hoped for the best. It was actually pretty good, I gotta say. It was a good steak. It was perhaps softer than I think a normal steak would be. It was very yummy though.
That is too
I would eat it
expensive.
again, but unfortunately it's $20 a pound, and I'm not rich, so. But it was good. I didn't get the elk burger, I got an elk steak instead, but I'd eat it again. What else? We're 57 minutes. I haven't even talked about board games yet. I think that's really all there is to say about Colorado. It's a very pretty looking state. The mountains are cool. I mean, I'll give you that. Mountains are cool. But after you see them, and after you drive up them and hike on them and things, it's like, alright, they're mountains. They're big old rocks, whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. So, meh, okay. As for board games, I brought along 42 board games, I think. Board/card games. Or maybe 41, and then I bought one. I think we played 17 different games over the course of the vacation. I thought it was going to be like a board gaming paradise. Like, we're all going to be in this one house. There's going to be a whole bunch of us. We were just going to be playing board games all night, every night. That did not happen for two reasons. One is everyone else basically exhausted themselves hiking every single day. And so everyone pretty much went to bed around 11 or so. And before that, they weren't really in the mood to play, Pit or something. Nor were they in the mood to play, like, 5 Try. They weren't in the mood to think or really act. So that didn't happen for that. And then the other reason is if they did want to play games, a bunch of them only really like to play Sheep's Head. And I really don't remember if I've talked about Sheep's Head before on any video. So I'll give a quick summary. Sheep's Head, also known as Schafskopf in German, is a trick-taking card game that goes back, apparently ages, and is talked about nowhere except in German-speaking communities, of which Wisconsin is a fairly large one. So it's alright if you've never heard of it. And Sheep's Head is pretty much like the most complicated trick-taking game that I've heard of. And it's complicated for the sake of being complicated. Like, it's just like, oh, you thought this would be... oh, you thought this would make sense? No, it's really this. Like, there's just, like... There's so many weird little rules, and the whole format is just like, why? What kind of contrarian asshole came up with this shit? And so I learned it last year, I think. My parents tried to teach it to me when I was like 14, but I wasn't having none of that. So I think I learned it properly last year on vacation. And we played a whole bunch of it. And I was like, it's okay. But I didn't really know any better. The only games I had at that point were like Arkham Horror and Battlestar Galactica. And I was wondering why they didn't want to play Battlestar Galactica. Because I was kind of dumb. So it's just like, we were playing Sheep's Head, whatever. So now I really know better. So I have a strict boycott on Sheep's Head because I think it's terrible. they don't think so. So we were kind of divided a little bit. And I think Sheep's Head is terrible because I described it as this. If you don't know what you're doing, you feel like a dumbass. And the other players kind of make you feel like a dumbass. They may not even intend to, but the way they speak to you when you don't know what to do is just demeaning. So you feel like a dumbass. But if you do know what to do, the game kind of plays itself. There's really no choice to it, you know? It's not like Cosmic Encounter. Like, I would love to live in a world where Cosmic Encounter replaces poker, you know? But in Sheep's Head, there's really no choice. It's like, if you know what you're doing, the optimal play is just like, oh, well, there it is. Oh, there it is. And so it just keeps going around, and like, there's no end point. It's like Cards Against Humanity. There's no end point. It just keeps going until everybody's like, oh, we're done. Oh. It's like, God, it's terrible. I'll never play it again. Not that I'm opposed to trick-taking games, because I did bring Diamonds, and we played that, and I enjoyed that somewhat. More than Sheep's Head, because I did think it was a bit more modern, and there was a bit of choice to it, and it was kind of interesting. And my dad liked it. My dad didn't really play anything, so that was alright. But anyways, we played... I can't even play while I do that. I want to get this. I want to get through this. The most played thing throughout the whole vacation was Star Realms, I would say. Which, if you haven't heard of it, it's a 2-player deck building game that you can get for like $11 or something on Amazon. And I heard about it for a while. I knew everybody praised it and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, what do I need a 2-player deck building game for? But I finally bought it because I was like, I'll buy it for maybe the car ride or something like that. And it's really damn good. It's just a really, like, for like $10 or so. I had some credit, so I got it for like $7. Like, there's so much game packed into that tiny little box. It's amazing. It's really damn good. So I ordered like an expansion for it. We played it a lot. And we played it both the card version and on my iPad. We played it a whole bunch, pass and play. It's just really good. Then we also played Rivals for Catan quite a bit, me and my mom. Also, pretty damn good. I like it a hell of a lot more than Settlers of Catan, that's for sure. I think there's a bit more strategy to it. The artwork is just really adorable on the cards. It reminds me a lot of like Age of Empires.
For you to take a look at.
And the base game itself comes with a lot of replayability for the cards, and there's strategy there. It's good. I like it. We also played a bunch of Concept, which I've talked about before. That was pretty interesting. We played with my nephew. My oldest nephew, who's 15, and who we've nicknamed Doofy. So you can probably figure that one out. And the really memorable thing from us playing Concept with him was he got a card. Well, he got a card and he was trying to describe it. And he had the worst habit of just not putting the main concept on anything that remotely should be the main concept. Like, he put it on, like, the sun. I'm like, okay, the main concept is the sun. I'm like, God damn it. That doesn't make any sense. And so he put, like, the sub-concepts on, like, a man and, like, fictional. So it's, like, a fictional character about the sun. So I'm like, okay, Superman. And he's like, no. And so then he put it, like, on the water symbols. He's like, okay, so he's part of the sun and the water. And we were just throwing out shit constantly, and he was just shaking his head. And so finally my sister yelled out, SpongeBob SquarePants, and we're all like, oh, man, that's it. That's perfect. And he just shakes his head, and I'm like, God, why wouldn't you just nod your head and be like, yes, that's it, even if it's a lie. That's so perfect. And so finally, after an excruciating amount of time, we got it by stringing together some words. And it was the Sandman. So this is not Sandman, like the Marvel villain or whatever. This is The Sandman, the novel by Neil Gaiman. And he thought it was like a superhero. I think he thought it was something akin to, say, Sandman. Like a superhero that fights in the sun or with sand or, something like that. It was just like, oh my god. Why would he pick that? Whatever. But it was pretty fun. We had some funny moments with that. Concepts is just it's a pretty solid game. We also played, I just want to talk about kind of the memorable stuff we played. I finally played Spectre Ops. We played one game with me, my mom, and Doofy. And I was the agent, so I was the one that was kind of running around hiding. And they were the two hunters. And I demolished them. Like, it wasn't even close to a competition. Like, they were basically just kept trying to follow me and never being able to catch up. Which I don't think is how you're supposed to play Spectre Ops. But they were so not even close to kidding me. It was ridiculous. And so I want to play Spectre Ops again, obviously. I don't know if it's the 3-player number that's just kind of like unbalanced, or if they were just really bad at it, or what it is about it, but I want to give it another chance, maybe with some more people to see how it works. But everybody's praising this game. It seems pretty damn cool, so I'd like to give it another chance, so I don't really count that as a good first play. We played Bang the Dice game with 8 people. We had the entire table. Everyone had my... I was in charge of everyone's entertainment at the table. They're like, okay, you got 8 people here, pick a game. And I'm like, I'm just like, do you know the pressure that is? Like, all of these people, some who do not have a great feeling about my modern board and card games. They'd rather play Sheep's Head. They're just staring at me like, you pick a game. And I'm like, God, this is... And so... I mean, Pit may have been the smart pick. Hard to say. It was a long table, so it was like... We probably would have had to move over to, like, the pool table, and I don't know if they would have gone for that, so it was like... I don't know. So I went with Bang the Dice game. And, I mean, I had enjoyed my first couple plays of it. We had played it with 6, I think, and I knew that you get another deputy with 7, and then there's another renegade at 8, so I was like, maybe it balances out, maybe this will work. I don't know, maybe I should pick resistance, I don't know. So yeah, we played Bang the Dice game with 8 people, 7 of whom had never played before. The beginning of it went over kind of like a lead balloon. It was rough. The first go around, like, I think my dad went like 6th or something like that. It finally got to his turn. He's like, sure takes a long time to get to your turn in this game. And I'm like, oh god. And the game's not really that complicated. Like, I think everybody kind of grasps it. It's not that complicated, but with 8 that have never played it before and really don't have any concept of hidden traitors or hidden roles. Like, that's really just a modern kind of thing, this hidden roles. So I was like, I don't know how this is going to go over. And so the first go around, nobody made any overt moves, because I had kind of like, you don't want to really put it out there that you're an outlaw, which you kind of do. You really kind of do, because there's no alternative. You're not just going to beat around the bush. You're going to shoot the sheriff. So the second go around, I'm like, all right, I can't keep this up. So I was an outlaw, so I just shot the sheriff finally. And so then things started to pick up as alignments started to be a bit more revealed, and I died almost immediately because they're like, oh, he knows what he's doing. He's an outlaw. Kill him. And so the game kind of it fizzled out at the end. Like, it was an anticlimactic ending, and I didn't rivet anybody with Bang the Dice game. Maybe if we had played it again, but it wasn't great. But if I had gone with the Resistance, I don't even know how that would have gone over. It's so hard to say. I mean, that's a tough crowd, man. If I were Tom Vassell or something, maybe I could have done it. But I'm just a novice. Just a novice. Yeah. And then I think on like the last night or so that we were there, I brought out finally Jungle Speed, which I had bought just for the vacation. And after a bit of a rules flub, because we thought you had to match symbol and color exactly, like the two cards had to be exactly alike. And now I realize it's pretty funny because I don't think there's any two identical cards. Maybe there is, but it didn't seem like it, because we never got a match. The only time anything happened was somebody thought it was a match. Like, there are cards that are very similar, but they're not matches, and so if you grab the little totem without it being a perfect match, you basically have a penalty, and you take all the cards. So that's basically all I had, was just penalties, and then I'm like, let me check the rules. It's like, oh yeah, color doesn't matter. So after that, the game picked up immensely, and damn was it pretty fun. Like, it's so tense whenever anybody flips over a card. It's just like, oh, because if you grab the totem wrongly, like, you're effed. You're effed in the B, man. And then if you knock over the thing accidentally, or if you grab it and you drop it, I think it's also a penalty. So you got to be damn sure and damn good at what you're doing. So it's a really tense, entertaining game, and it comes in this little bag. It's good. I'm glad I bought it. I gotta bust that out with my friends. There were other small things played, but nothing really major. Like, we played trains one night, stuff like that. But yeah, it was not the board gaming paradise that I thought it would be, but maybe next year. Okay, what else? What else? I don't know if there is really anything else I need to say about the vacation. Let me just say that Nebraska sucks. And if you live in Nebraska, you have my sympathies. Because that state sucks. Like, it's just nothing. And we stopped at this, like, the shittiest gas station you can ever picture. It was just so terrible. And it was, like, the only thing there was, like, the freeway, there was, like, fields and fields, and then there was this little gas station. We're like, why are we stopping here? And inside, there were these two old, like, toothless old guys running the place. Which wouldn't have been, like, a really big deal. And so I went into the bathroom there, which was like, I mean, it was either there or out in the field. I probably should have gone out in the field, but whatever. So I went in there, and there was no paper towel. And I'm like, okay, I didn't expect there to be a paper towel. So it's just like, that's what pockets are for. And so I'm getting, like, my energy drink and a payday or something like that. And this foreign lady, who did not speak much great English, she walks over to two old guys, and she starts, like, calling out to one of them, who's not facing her. He's, like, looking at a computer from, like, 1998. And she's like, excuse me! And this guy's not budging. Like, I don't think he even heard her. I really don't. And she just kept on, like, calling out and getting louder, and, like, neither of the two old guys would even look at her. And she looks at, like, everyone else in the gas station, which is most of our group. And she's like, you can hear me, right? And, you know, I didn't do anything. I'm like, keep me out of it, lady. I'm betting there's a Winchester under that counter, and I don't want to see it. This is your problem. And so her beef was that there was no toilet paper in one of the stalls in the women's bathroom. And if I were a more vocal guy, I'm really not. I only like talking to myself into a microphone. If I were a more vocal guy, I'd be like, lady, you should be happy that there's indoor plumbing. But she, like, kept on getting louder and yelling to the one old guy who was checking everybody out. Like, the other guy was doing nothing. I don't know what he was just kind of an asshole. But the other guy was, like, actually helping all the customers. And so I'm the one, like, I'm checking out, and I'm like, God, just make this as quickly as possible. And I'm like, I wish I had cash so I could just throw it down and leave. But hurry up. And so she, like, yells at this guy one last time. So he finally, like, snaps at her. He's like, I don't even know what he said. I can't remember what he said. It wasn't very kind. I think he might have told her to shut up. I'm pretty sure that was used. It wasn't the kindest of words, but she was kind of a bitch. And so I'm like, well, I'm out of here. And so then she goes outside, and she starts yelling at her husband, who was not foreign. He was very much an average-looking white guy. And she starts yelling at him to go in there and defend her honor. And I'm just like, oh, man, somebody's getting shot today. I'm staying in the car. And so my sister apparently was in there when he went in there. And apparently, the husband, screamed at the old guy that he can't talk to his wife like that. And, I don't know all the specifics, but he actually went in there and defended her honor. I was like, dude, your wife's kind of a bitch. Buy her some toilet paper. Tell her to shut up. So, that's Nebraska, if you're wondering. And then we stayed at another hotel that night in Council Bluffs, Iowa, which is just on the border of Nebraska, so it was not very good. Like, there was a whole bunch of, like, farming equipment, and then there was the hotel and casino. It was very strange. But it was right on the Missouri River. And we went to dinner there at this place called Bella's, which had a very Oscar Mayer Wiener feel to it. I'll let you figure out what that means. And we get served by this girl. Well, she takes us to our table, she gives us all our menus, and we're like, oh, what's the soup of the day? And she's like, I don't know. And so she goes over and she asks another waitress. She's like, oh, she didn't know either. And I'm like, wow. Robert Irvine would shut this place down. 2 waitresses don't know what the soup of the day is. And then our original waitress apparently handed us off to another one because 7 people was just too much for her. So, yeah, that wasn't good. But the second waitress was pretty good, and the food was pretty good until I bit into just a tremendous large grouping of fresh jalapenos on my burger, and that was not good. And then a bunch of the adults went to the casino, but I don't gamble, so I just stayed in the hotel room, drinking Mountain Dew and playing Diablo 3 all night. And that's basically how my vacation ended. Yeah, I guess that's about it. It was a good vacation. I don't regret going, as I said, but if they go back, I don't know if I would. I could just, take a vacation at home and not record and not go to work. But if I'm at home, I don't know how I could not record. Like, that's just... If I'm not at home, then it's like, okay, I can justify it. How can I record? But if I'm sitting at home anyways, that would be so wrong. So, I don't know what I would do in that situation. But yeah, it was alright. Okay. So, yeah, as I said, there's going to be more Witcher 3, of course. The Mangg cast, hopefully tomorrow, if I can catch up on time. A Duelist video, maybe an Axiom Verge video. And then, hopefully, I think next Sunday, if everything goes well, we're starting a new D&D 4th edition campaign on Roll20 with Ziggy DMing. And this is the one where I'll be busting out my Drow Scion. This is if everything goes as planned. I don't know if it will, but if so, we might have some roll manging next Monday. So that'll be cool. But I think I've talked long enough. An hour and 20 minutes is a new record for Hanging with Mangg. But it was a comeback video, so that's all right. So if you watched the whole thing, thank you for sticking around. Hope you look forward to the E3 Mangcast special. That should be fun to talk about. And I'll see you fine folks next week.